Marlene, what a joy to connect with you. So thankful that you said yes to this interview and conversation. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Well, I've admired you for some time and I've really appreciated our continued connection. You've helped me out at the university to have dialogue with the students in the past. And I know this year has been a kind of a tumultuous one for many. And I know you're such an incredible survivor. So I am thrilled to hear your story and for our listeners to hear your story as well. So why don't you just dive in and introduce yourself and share about the lane you're operating in and maybe how that lane has shifted a little bit and just give us some insight, please.
Wow. Okay. So I am Marlene Desiree Watts, and I heard you say I'm a survivor, which I absolutely agree with. Survivor who's always trying to be a thriver. I am a daughter. I am a fur baby mother. I am a dancer. I am a dance educator. I am a mover, shaker, creator, a lover. I am 33 and I am just figuring out all of the things that I wish someone had told me when I was much younger. I'm coming into this space where I have so much joy and peace and wisdom. It's like, where, I guess I'm having an awakening, right? There was a moment or a long time in life where I was there. God was with me, no matter what, but it wasn't clicking like it is now. And so I'm grateful. I am open, and I am in a place where I just want to love and serve and be loved and be served. I'm here now and at home. This is probably day 17 or so. I've been away from Houston for 5 years. I was living my best life in New York for the second time. So I came, I saw, I conquered twice. And I'm very grateful for each opportunity to have been able to just explore the industry and simultaneously continue to gain education. So initially when I moved to New York, I was attending NYU and I received my BFA in dance. And then the second round, I was able to receive my master's in dance education. And I'm just in a place where it's like, who would I be if I never went? If I never left home? And also, why am I back home? What the heck is God doing now? Because I don't get it. I can't tell you what's next. I just know that I'm in good hands. And I've never felt this type of assuredness, I guess that's the word, or just peace that like I'm doing the right thing. Even if I don't know what's next, I know that this is right now. And I don't have to worry about what's next. I've never felt what this feels like. And I'm just so excited to see how he's going to show up and show out because I've never been a lover of Houston, even though Houston has been good to me, but I'm in a different place now. So I'm ready. I'm ready to serve my city. I'm ready to represent my city. I'm ready to grow and learn and just, continue being great. All for Jesus, right?
All for Jesus. That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those words about the maturation, right? We don't come necessarily with a manual other than the scriptures, but it doesn't come highlighted when we become a believer that these are the things that you absolutely need to figure out. And one of those early on is just peace and trust and waiting and assurance. And I think for dancers, it's a little harder too, because we're on the go and we're ready for the next thing. And so when the shift happens, we want to be flexible. And yet there's always a sense of maybe I like to have a little bit more control or really want to understand that, there's got to be the next gig. There's got to be the next event. There got to be the next rehearsal, the class. So I admire you for being in this place right now to say that you're receiving from God, and it is that what is exceedingly abundantly beyond what you can ask or imagine that he's doing, and you're living it right now.
Amen.
Which is so beautiful. It's
Yeah,
really
it's definitely a place of surrender. You know, it's easier said than done, but it is absolutely a place of my hands are up, my eyes are up, my knees are down.
yeah.
I don't have the answers. I cannot control this anymore. I don't want to control this anymore. You know, like I'm actually getting a little teary-eyed. Like I've been in that place for so long where I thought it was me, you know, and I knew God, but I was just in a place of like constant anxiety and frustration and stress. And I thought I was happy. I thought, you know, I was successful. And it's like, girl, you didn't even know.
Okay.
There's levels to this, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm elated, you know, it's great.
That's so good. I'd love for you to share about just the education resources that you have created and all of that online presence that's been so wonderful. And I know that's a part of the success that you can speak of because people have linked into you and know you and follow you and have been blessed by all of that real solid education and teaching. But I can imagine with that also is that place of, you know, here's what you've taught and here's the way you've focused to help people to move in their way of going higher or progressing. I'm curious to know if that's shifting in your own thought or heart about how you teach about it. So I guess it's a double loaded question of like, tell us about what that is. And then I secretly kind of want to know, like, is it going to keep along the same way or is that shifting a little for you?
Education resources. So I've always had this mission statement ever since I attended that summer intensive with Adea, and Bill Wade said, you need to have a mission statement and whatever you agree to in the industry should align with that. Otherwise, you know, it's not for you. So that mission statement, working on discernment, and just expecting from myself as a teacher to continue to be a lifelong learner. That's something that I think all teachers or just all human beings, you know, should prioritize. So for me, it was self-improvement. What am I doing for my healing? I know that as an educator, I am a role model. I'm standing in front of people and that this can't be fake. It has to be authentic. Otherwise, how do I connect to people? How do I touch hearts? How do I move lives the way my teachers did for me, which is why I teach. You know, I know that it's my purpose, but I also love it and, you know, work tirelessly because I know that it's necessary work. So I would say my education resources start from within, the things that I know I need to prepare myself for this crazy world. At one point, I had two things happen in life. I was in a relationship and ended up breaking it off. And I ended up getting a really bad injury, a herniated disc that practically paralyzed my entire left arm. And I was sitting in front of orthopedic surgeons talking about surgery. And I think those were probably two of the most traumatizing experiences I've gone through. And so from that point, it was focus on healing, focus on, you know, your well-being, because you can't, you know, serve anyone, or it's difficult to show up if you're not in a place where you're doing that for yourself, you know? So I think that shift in the awakening came from me having to stop because I could not dance with this injury, you know, or it was just almost impossible. We know nothing is impossible, but it was almost impossible to have a pure heart and be happy in front of my students when I was heartbroken by this relationship that changed me and just took me away from God in so many ways, and don't realize it until, you know, you're so deep in it. So I would say working on myself, positive affirmations, and just reading as many Bible plans as I could, because just reading the Bible from cover to cover is definitely a challenge for me. So just making time, you know, and focusing that time, journaling and writing have become major outlets for me. Seeking out one-on-one therapy, and then taking all of those resources and all of those experiences and then applying them and sharing them with the people that are in my circle. So, never really trying to please anyone, but knowing that if this worked for me, it has to work for at least one. So not being silent. I for so long was scared. I'm not a scary person, but I was trained to be so timid and, don't rock the boat. You don't want to give off the impression that you're an angry Black woman. So, stay in line. And it's just like I was complicit and I was scared. And that is not a spirit of God. It's just the awakening is so real, when you realize I was doing this all the wrong way, but it's okay, right? That was my path and my journey. So when I got to a place where I wasn't scared and I could speak out and trust that whoever needs to hear it, it will land in that place and it will land in a way that they can process it. I don't have to worry about it being perfect, I think all of those things have become resources for me, which I now, share just because sharing is caring.
That's beautiful. I love the perspective of what you're articulating about ways that we may be conditioned. And I know in the Christian realm that we're often taught to have a meekness, because if you are too assertive, then that equates to either like anger or pride, or like you've are extending yourself in too lofty of a manner. And but it's not truth, right? We can have a voice. You can articulate matters of truth. You can articulate the facts. You can articulate in a really passionate way how much you want to relay something that isn't like a non-Christian way to operate and live your life. So I really appreciate hearing, in particular, just in your own journey and your words of, not wanting to be perceived as an angry Black woman. I'm sure that there's so much layered there in just life and culture. And, how do you break out of that? I'd love to hear some tips. How do you encourage people who have been conditioned either in their dance studies to operate in a particular way? And if you ask questions, that might show that you're questioning authority and not being in your right place as a student. Or if you're an educator and you have some other philosophies or ideas of maybe we could go about it this way and it actually is producing really incredible results. Or in the faith, if we go about it like this, it's not being disrespectful. It just is, that's God inside me. So I'd love to hear even more nuggets of, how did you get more brave, or how can you really encourage people to become more brave?
As you were forming the question, two words came to mind: identity and trust. So my identity, as I strengthened myself spiritually, my identity in Christ became more clear. You hear the phrase, when you know whose you are, you know who you are. Well, sounds beautiful, but do you really get it? Does it really make sense? When it started to click for me, nothing could stop me. I've been in audition settings where I was so worthy and so ready for opportunities, and I didn't get them because of where I was mentally. And it's crazy how judges can see past that. They can see past the movement. They see, within. And so for me, when I was able to get to a place where I knew who I was, not just in the spiritual realm, but also connecting to my family, connecting to my bloodline, connecting to having a sense of pride that it's okay to be Black. It's okay to be Caribbean. It's okay to be mixed. It's okay to be Texan. It's okay to be American. It's okay to be female. It's okay to be the last one of five because I'm the baby and I hate it. But hey, That's who I am. Let's embrace that, right? There's a lot of love and protection when you're the last one of five. So accepting, understanding, and being at peace with my identity on different levels, and then also just trusting that God's word is a rock, and trusting that when he says something, when he promises something, he doesn't lie and he can't fail. Like, that is truth, so when you have that in your back pocket as some ammo, it doesn't matter if I didn't get that audition. It wasn't for me. It doesn't matter that, I didn't get that interview or that job or that trip or that promotion, because what's for me is coming. I don't have to chase after it. There was a time where I felt like I had to work so hard, and now I still work hard, but I'm working in, the words in tandem just came into mind, but I'm working in partnership, so I know that someone has my back, and it's the only one I need to have my back. So I think being able to be fearless has come from knowing my identity and trusting that God loves me and the Holy Spirit lives in me, and I don't want to let any of those three down, like, mm-mm. So yeah, that gives me a lot of peace and a lot of strength and courage. And then obviously having those go-to scriptures, being brave and courageous, letting your light shine, like not being afraid of what people think and say. It's so limiting when you're afraid. And I didn't realize for so long I was afraid of so much. And it's like, why? Just, you let the enemy in and he will still kill and destroy. So having the armor, and practicing it daily helps you to press forward.
Oh, so good. Yeah, it is so good. Just that identity part. And I'm 58 on the journey with Jesus since 1981. And I really have much more of a better idea of who I am than ever before. And it keeps growing. And part of it is because it keeps evolving. Been a wife for a while and been a mama for a while. And now I've been a grandma for these last 3+ years. And so my identity in that part changes, but the shifting with health and wellness being more of a focus that God has me in now. And so I can't identify myself in the role in which I am operating necessarily. I just have to, we have to identify ourselves apart from what we do. And it's in the core of who we are. And I'm hearing that. And then I can also attest to you being in the Word because we share this Bible app and we're friends. And because of that, every so often, like once a week or every couple of weeks, it'll bling, bling, another plan that Marlene's on, she's reading. And it is about strong and courageous or identity or these valuable things in life that, so I'm always so encouraged because I know you're digging in. And I know that is the real source of being able to have success, to live in abundance and not to have that John 10:10, the thief come and kill and steal and destroy any longer in your life. So I just am so thrilled to know, again, you say it, and that's one thing, right? We say something, but really, are we doing it or are we living it? And I can testify the girl is living it.
Yeah. And I started this new Instagram, the Simply Passion Fruit one, actually a year ago on the 23rd, I think. I was so scared to do it. Like, it's just an Instagram, but everything has been private because I'm a teacher and you just don't know what people think. But I'm like, Marlene, whatever you do, it represents God. You know that he's within you and you know that you have a certain standard, so whether my profile, my social media are public or private, I make a conscious effort of everything I release. And so when I started the Instagram, I was afraid of what people would think, who would follow, like, and it was just do it. Just don't worry, and even with the Bible plans. Every time I start one, I have the option to choose, make it visible to friends or keep it private. And I'm like, just share. You never know who might be interested in that Bible plan, who might want to have a conversation, who you never know. So with the Instagram and with the Bible plans and anything else that I do that I can make public, I try not to hide it, because you don't know who needs to hear or see or taste, you know. And I think that it's important to just stay open. If you're doing things in the right way, on the right path, God will align everything in divine order. So I think it's funny that you bring that up. I try to walk it like I talk it. I don't want people to see one thing on Instagram and see one thing in person. You know, they should align. They should make sense. Nothing should be confusion and, you know, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. And it's hard to do, but at the same time, when you hold yourself subject to others' scrutiny, when you make things more public, then it really allows us that place to align with the scriptures that says, do all things unto God rather than man. And when we can get to that place where we don't have as much care, and not in a a way that is careless, but not so frozen and paralyzed in how much other people are going to care, then we're really able to have much more freedom. But it also allows there to be some accountability if we really are conscientious of it. If you know that, well, I posted that, and so whoever's going to see it, read it, look at it, they may come right back at me someday and say, you said this, you're saying this, and I'm not really seeing this align. So it's a really good form of accountability, I think, to be able to put things out
and you
there.
You never know who's watching, but someone is always watching, you know? Yeah. So give them the show that he's gonna want you to portray. That's my mindset. But it took time to get there, you know?
Yeah, that's good.
Wasn't always this way, but I'm proud I am now.
And that's good. And I think it's great. And I think the pandemic season has really caused us to reassess things. But I think really it is also a maturation. If you really are continuing to deepen in faith with God, then we become more like him. And I don't see in the scriptures where Jesus held back because he was concerned about what somebody was going to say and think of him. It's like, always the truth is always what you got. How about, because you are in leadership roles, something I really enjoy hearing people in leadership positions, just how they encourage others. What values do you hold? You've been sharing some really wonderful nuggets, but is there anything else related to knowing people are watching, or ways to make sure we're keeping it together? Because I know you're very organized too, and you have some systematic aspects of yourself.
You're so kind. You're so kind. I try to be organized. My brain functions that way, but it doesn't always look like that around me. And that might be like an artistic, I think they call it left brain thing. I don't know. So thank you for thinking that I'm organized. I do try. I feel like I lost track, actually. I think this fall will be my 8th school. It could be slightly more, but I've been teaching like formally as a full-time educator since 2012. So I've hopped around to different campuses within Houston and within New York City. And so I've had a lot of principals. And so the plus there is you learn, from observing. And so I've learned the type of leader I need. I've learned the type of leader I desire to be and the type of leader I do not desire to be. And then what type of leader, now that I'm, so deep in my Christian walk, knowing that I'm a teacher, I'm a leader regardless. I'm not a principal, but I'm a leader regardless. And I just think about, what experience do I want my students to have when they leave? I want every single one of them to remember Ms. Watts. And I want them to remember me, not because they think that I'm cool or I'm pretty or, anything superficial. I want them to remember serious impact. So that is important to me. What I do, what I say, how I write, how I choreograph, the music I choose, how I warm them up, how I cool them down, how I show up even when I'm not at my best, because we're human and we deserve to not always expect to be at 10, you know? So I think that in terms of leadership skills and qualities, I really value integrity. I really value excellence, not perfection, but excellence. I really value consistency. And I'm sure there's so many more that are escaping me at the moment. But I think that most importantly, one I've recently learned is seeing people and seeing the good in people. So I've struggled with students, and my best experiences come from my most challenging students. My biggest growth comes from me looking within when that student challenges me. And if I realized, if I had seen them, if I hadn't judged them, if I hadn't, been so negative or critical or harsh or whatever they were feeling or I was projecting, if I had seen them, if I had stopped, if I had prayed, if I had a conversation, if I had adjusted my tone, if I'd greeted them, if I'd given them voice and given them choice, all of those things deepen a relationship. And whether it's professional, personal, any leader, any human being needs to be able to communicate and needs to be able to see and to hear other people. Those are things I struggled with initially as a teacher, because it was my way. It was what I thought worked, what I needed, what I wanted, me. And now it's like, girl, this is bigger than you. So check yourself, And so as a leader, outside of being honest and, representing yourself well, I think seeing people and listening to people and being open to people just grants you so much more wisdom and understanding and access. And I mean, relationships are just so important. You just never know. 30 years from now, I want my students to look for me or, invite me to their baby showers. They actually do. Not 30 years from now, they already are. But just, I still keep in touch with my second grade teacher, and her daughter is now dancing, and I get invitations to dance recitals. Like, what is that? Something about that woman left an impression on me, and now she takes my workout classes. My teacher, I am my teacher's teacher, and I also teach her daughter. We've taken dance classes, I've taught fitness classes, and they've attended together. And that is just an amazing full circle moment, So leadership is just character and humbleness, I think, if I had to wrap that up.
It is that. It's so much that, and all the things you're articulating. If we had world leaders that operated in that way, think about the peace on this planet that we would have. So it is about serving, and I'm hearing that heart that you have, and it's about seeing. And as you were talking, I just am filtering through, ouch, 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 that, I've definitely learned and grown, but at times I have an agenda, and it's my way, and it's worked well in the past. But the students that are coming in now are different students, and the needs are different. And so being open, often in the beginning of the semester, when I start my courses at the university, before I give them a syllabus, I don't hand the syllabus out usually the first day. And I'll ask, you took this course for what reason? And what do you want to learn? And so if there might be some things that aren't on the, in the curriculum for that, then I'll make sure I'm addressing that and can add that in, and they can feel like, okay, they're being heard. It doesn't mean that I'm compromising the whole curriculum, but you're just giving a platform for people to be able to be heard. And we know what that feels like, right? We know what it feels like when somebody's really listening, or somebody really is present, in particular with the relationship with God. And it's overwhelming, and it just brings me to my knees at times. And it just brings me to this place of just weeping. It's like, why do you continue, God, to pay attention to me? Because I am such a hot, or I don't feel deserving. And when we really see one another in that way, it heals that place of feeling undeserved or just not wanting to be seen. And we love them into, or we are loved into that place. So bless you in your teaching and your approach, because I know that they do love you. And a testament of that is the very thing of like, are they still in a relationship with you and connecting? And you made them feel known and seen and loved and heard and valued, right? That's huge. That value component. So beautiful. Wow.
Last year or year prior to, when we were still in person, I plastered Maya Angelou all over my classroom. I found as many things as I could find, and I discovered she was a dancer. Like, I don't know how I didn't know that or learn that prior to, but I found pictures of her dancing. And, you know, that famous quote about people will remember not what you say, but how you make them feel just resonated so much, because for so long, I wouldn't say I burned bridges, but I screwed up, you know, and we're supposed to make mistakes, you know. And so I forgave myself, but I could have also saved myself so much heartache and so much stress and so many conversations with parents if I just stopped, you know, and I thought about, what am I saying? What am I doing? How does it make them feel versus, you know, what it sounds like or looks like, you know, to the supervisor or whoever else is watching. So I'm just grateful that I'm in a place, and I know I don't have it all figured out for sure, but I know I have come a long way. And if I'm only 33 now, like, where do I go from here? You know, you were right. The identities evolve. And I almost feel like for me in this season, every week, something major in my life is changing. And I have to constantly rely. I have to extend my hands and just clench, you know, his unchanging hand, because I cannot and I will not anymore do this, you know, my way and assume that I know. So I'm super grateful for this opportunity, and I'm super grateful that you cared to choose me, you thought of me, you invited me, and I hope that I exceeded your expectations, and whoever's listening will be inspired, and, you know, will seek our lovely creator.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, you do. Every time we connect, just like God has placed in you an ancient wisdom. You just are really wise beyond your years, and you're a gorgeous orator. You have a very beautiful way to articulate what it is that's on your heart. And I know that is because you're an educator, but I believe he's gifted you in that beautiful way to relay your heart and relay what really matters and what's significant. So I'm so honored for your yes. So thank you. And I'll look forward to connecting all your social media links so people can continue to follow you and find you and be encouraged and inspired by you. But I just love you and appreciate you greatly, and do thank you for taking some time today.
Love you too. Thank you so much, Cynthia.
You're welcome, dear one.